Good evening. You're tuned in to the Suncity News Center right here on 104.9 FM. It's now time for our evening news and sports update. Here are the top stories making the news unto this hour. Indicom urges patience as it probes Donna Lee Donaldson's disappearance. Spanish Town wanted man deported from Cayman to Jamaica. Defense lawyers attack credibility of ex-gangster turned state witness. Police meet with residents in Hayes, Clarendon following deadly shooting. Guyana welcomes 2 new offshore oil discoveries. EU Health Commissioner urges reinforced monkeypox action. And J3A announces 47-member team to Commonwealth Games. News and details right after this. Now the news in detail. The Independent Commission of Investigations, Indicom, has confirmed that it is in touch with the family of Donna Lee Donaldson as it conducts a probe into her disappearance. There have been calls for Indicom to expedite the investigation. Indicom Commissioner Hugh Faulkner has cautioned, however, that the probe will take some time to be completed. He said certain steps are being taken. He confirmed, however, that Indicom investigators have been in touch with the family and certain processes are going through. In that regard, he's therefore asking members of the public to be patient with the Commission as it seeks to pursue the matter in a thorough manner. He reportedly said that arrangements have been made for the 2 members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force listed as persons of interest in the case to be questioned next week. Murder accused and alleged Spanish Town-based gang leader Rudolph Shaw, who was captured in Cayman, is now in custody of the Jamaican police. He was deported today. Mr. Shaw was arrested in the Cayman Islands on July 8 after fleeing Jamaica by boat. The Jamaica Constabulary Force says Mr. Shaw was wanted in connection with multiple murders and several shootings in St. Catherine. He was linked to the recent flare-up of violence in Spanish Town. The police say after pursuing several lines of investigation, in addition to boosting public awareness through social media publications, information was received that Mr. Shaw was in Cayman. Meanwhile, defense lawyers in the Klansman Wandon gang trial this morning continued their attack on the credibility of one of the prosecution's main witnesses, with one attorney branding him a liar. Kaden Crooks tells us more.
Noble, during her closing argument today, urged the court to find that the ex-gangster was not a witness of truth. She also asked the judge to find that her client, Dwight Jim Brown Hall, was not a member of the gang or was involved in the murder of 2 men at a netball court in Rivoli, St. Catherine. Noble pointed out that the witness had named her client among men who were allegedly seen beating the 2 men on the night in question. However, she argued that the fact that he had also named defendant Pete Miller, whose prison records have shown to have been in jail at the time, proves that his account cannot be trusted. She also contended that there were inconsistencies in his testimony. Noble said, although the witness had indicated that he was able to see what was happening at the netball court with the help of light coming from nearby houses. Under cross-examination, he was able to state definitively where the light source was located. She also noted that he had testified that their client was a Don and that he run things, but later walked back his comment by saying Hall no control nowhere. According to her, not only is his evidence corroborated, but there are several serious inconsistencies in his account. Meanwhile, the attorney for defendant Kevon Green, the brother of reputed leader Andre Blackman Bryan, argued that the prosecution has not led any evidence to prove that he was a member of the gang or that the gang existed. Shannon Clark said the witness account that her client had escorted his brother to the house and was there playing a video game does not prove that he was a gang member. According to the attorney, no evidence was presented to establish that Green had participated in any plot to murder anyone, was involved in any gang meeting, or had extorted anyone. She too asked the court to find her client not guilty of being a gang member. Clark also urged the judge to bear in mind that one of the prosecution witnesses did not mention her client in any of his numerous statements or first spoke about him in court. She then urged the judge to find that the material omission renders the credibility of the witness unreliable. From the Suncity News Center, I'm Kadian Crooks.
2 women died and several others were injured this morning after a passenger bus ran off the road and crashed into a gully in Seaford Town, Westmoreland. One of the deceased has been identified as Yasmin Kerr, who lived in Dundee, Westmoreland. The incident happened about 7 o'clock. The police reported that the bus, which plies the Seaford Town to Montego Bay route, was traveling from Westmoreland towards St. James. On reaching a section of the Seaford Town main road, the driver reportedly lost control of the bus, which ran off the road and overturned in a gully. Several of the passengers, including 2 women, sustained injuries. They succumbed at the scene. The injured persons, including the driver, were transported to hospital for treatment. The police and political representatives in Clarendon are holding a community meeting with the residents of Newtown Phase 2 in Hayes following the shooting of 6 people on Tuesday night. 16-year-old Demaro Gibson and 40-year-old Christopher Romani, both from Hayes, died in the attack. Another 16-year-old and 3 men were injured. They have undergone surgery. Deputy Superintendent Owen Brown, the police responsible for the Community and Safety Department in the Clarendon Division, reportedly said that the group, including family members of the victims of last night's attack, have gathered at the shop where the shooting occurred. DSP Brown said counseling and other forms of support are being provided. It was reported that about 8:45 p.m., the 6 people were among patrons at a shop on Hollywood Drive in Newtown. Phase 2. A silver Toyota Axio drove up and 2 men alighted. The men opened gunfire at the patrons. The injured people were taken to hospital where 2 were pronounced dead. The police say a magazine containing 14 rounds of ammunition was found at the scene. It's now time for the Suncity Street Beat. The Suncity Street Beat is a feature that allows the people of St. Catherine to voice their views while keeping the Suncity team on the pulse of news. We went into some Portmore communities to let the residents voice their views on how they're coping with the constant increase in food and gas prices. And here's what the residents have to say.
It's a significant challenge, not just for me, but everybody I know. You know, it's a lot of issues. Inflation, the situation. I think the government needs to do something to subsidize, to ensure that even though the citizens are having, we're facing the crunch, there has to be something to help balance the playing field.
I really increase it with the salary. The salary just can't make it and go, because when I get paid and I pay bills, I can't buy food because the price of food is so high that you cannot buy it. Me have to source money somewhere else to cover even the bill, much more to buy food.
So everything going up, increasing, and it's stressful for young people bus fares, it's hard because you only can find fare if you go back home. You can't even find a proper food to eat when you're at work, so you come like a free labor you do.
With the grasslands, well, it's very, 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 very hard. Very, very hard. With me, a single parent with a mother with 4 children, 3 attend high school and a primary, is very, very hard. Income can't budget to food, not to mention you're getting back to school now, booklets with 15 textbook. Very, 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 very hard.
All right, nobody's coping right now, as so to speak. What we're trying to do is to get by, and get by is a tussle. It's. But right now, all we have to do is just think how we can go through the day, not the week, not weeks, not month, the day.
But to be honest with you, I really don't check on the increases. I have to buy food and I have to go to work, I have to buy gas. So I just buy the amount in cost that I can buy. So if I can buy 5,000 worth of gas, that's what I buy.
You're listening to the evening news right here on Suncity 104.9 FM. We'll have more right after this. Continuing the stories with news in the region. The Guyana government has welcomed the addition of 2 new oil discoveries offshore the country. Natural Resources Minister Vikram Bharat said the discoveries yesterday will further strengthen Guyana as a petroleum-producing economy. The new oil discoveries were made by Exxon Exploration and Production Guyana and partners. There have now been 7 discoveries in Starbuck block this year and 33 overall. In international news, the European Union's Commissioner for Health is urging the bloc's governments to step up their efforts to tackle the expanding monkeypox outbreak in the region, which she says is the epicenter of detected cases. In a letter to the EU's 27 health ministers obtained by the Associated Press, EU Health Commissioner Stella Kyriakides called Wednesday for a reinforced, concerted and coordinated action. She wrote there is no time for complaints and they need to continue working together to control the outbreak. It is the WHO's highest level of alert, but the designation does not necessarily mean a disease is particularly transmissible or lethal. Similar declarations were made for the Zika virus in 2016 in Latin America and the ongoing effort to eradicate polio, in addition to the COVID-19 pandemic and the 2014 Ebola outbreak in West Africa. You're listening to the evening news right here on Suncity 104.9 FM. We'll have sports right after this. News and sports. Track and field at the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham begins on Tuesday, August 2nd, and the Jamaica Athletics Administration has named a 47-member team of athletes to participate. Jada Francis tells us more.
Akuna Noble, during her closing argument today,
Track and field at the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham begins on Tuesday, August 2, and the Jamaica Athletics Administration has named a 47-member team of athletes to participate. Jamaica's team to the Commonwealth Games include the likes of Akeelia Smith, Akeem Bloomfield, Conroy Jones, Daniel Williams, Daniel Thomas Dodd, Elaine Thompson-Era, Frederick Dacus, Ansel Parchment, Jael Hyde, Geneva Russell, Javon Francis, Javon Powell, Jordan Scott, Janelle Brumfield, Kadrian Golson, Kareem Bartley, Kemar Bailey Cole, Kemar Mowat, Kemo Nelson, Kimberly Williams, Kimberly Williamson, Lamara Diston, Lloydrika Cameron, Megan Tapper, Natalia White, Natasha Morrison, Nathan Allen, Natoya Gould, Navaski Anderson, Nigel Ellis, Adane Richards, Orlando Bennett, Rashid Broadbell, Rashid Dwyer, Ramona Burchell, Rajay Stoner, Romaine Beckford, Renisha Alicia McGregor, Rochelle Clayton, Shanika Ricketts, Sean D. Thompson, Sharika Jackson, Shine Salmon, Stephanie Ann McPherson, Tiffany James, and Travis Michael. From the Suncity News Center, I'm Jada Francis.
Before we end this newscast, here's a look at some of the stories. Indicom urges patience as it probes Donnelly Donaldson's disappearance. Spanish Town man deported from Cayman to Jamaica. Defense lawyers attack credibility of ex-gangster turned state witness. 2 women killed, several injured in Westmoreland bus crash. Police meet with residents in Hayes, Clarendon following deadly shooting. Guyana welcomes 2 new offshore oil discoveries, and J3A announced a 47-member team to Commonwealth Games. That's it for the news update from the Suncity News Center here on 104.9 FM. Join us again at 7 a.m. for more news on this station. Please remember to follow us on all our socials. For Instagram and Twitter, look for us at Suncity104_9 FM and Facebook at Suncity Radio 104.9 FM. Stay tuned for the Heatwave Show right here on Suncity Radio.